Name of subject, internal combustion engines. Name of chapter, introduction. Name of the topic, comparison or difference between SI and CI engines. Contents, comparison or difference between spark ignition and compression ignition engines. Dear friends, to understand this difference, we move to see the notes part. So, dear friends, in the last few lectures, we already discussed about the spark ignition engine and the compression ignition engine. We already discussed all the details about it. So today we are going to understand very important concept in this, that is the basic difference between the SI, that is spark ignition, and CI, that is compression ignition engine. Okay, so one by one we will understand these differences. Okay, in different examination the question will ask to you on this difference. So this question is again very important as per exam point of view. So the first difference, we know in SI engine, this SI engine is totally based on Otto cycle. SI engine is nothing but a petrol engine. So we know SI engine is based on Otto cycle, whereas in the case of CI engine means diesel engine, this engine is based on diesel cycle. So this is the basic difference, as we already discussed about the Otto cycle and diesel cycle in detail. So this is the basic difference between SI engine and CI engine. SI engine always works on Otto cycle and CI engine always works on diesel cycle. So this is the first basic difference between SI engine and CI engine. So when we talk about the second difference, in the case of SI engine, we always use petrol or gasoline. Gasoline is another name of a petrol. Petrol or gasoline at high ignition temperature is desirable. Okay, and where in the case of CI engine, always we are using diesel where the low ignition temperature is desirable. So this is the second difference, where in SI engines we are using petrol as a fuel, and in the case of CI engine, diesel as a fuel, where the petrol has a property of very high ignition temperature. So this is desirable in the case of SI engine, and in the case of CI engine, where low ignition temperature is desirable, so diesel has this property. Okay, that's why we are always using diesel for CI engine. Similarly, the next difference for SI engine, it requires an ignition system with spark plug in combustion chamber. We know we always use spark plug in the case of SI engine. Okay, and that spark plug is situated in the combustion chamber, which is required, always required in SI engine. Similarly, in the case of CI engine, there is no use of spark plug generally or conventionally, so that spark plug is replaced by the injectors. So this is one of the difference between SI and CI. So the next difference, in the case of SI engine, compression ratio range is 6 to 10.5 and the upper limit is fixed by antenna quality of fuel. So the maximum compression ratio, it may be 6 to 10.5 and the upper limit it may be fixed by the antenna quality of fuel. This is in the case of SI engine, whereas in the case of CI engine, my dear friends, always the compression ratio is very much higher. So it will lie in between 14 to 22 and the upper limit is again limited. So this is again very important difference. The next one, in the case of SI engine, the efficiency is lower due to low compression ratio. So always remember, petrol engine gives a lower efficiency because it has a lower compression ratio, whereas diesel engine or CI engine gives a higher efficiency because it has a higher compression ratio. So always remember, the petrol cars will give a low efficiency as compared with the diesel car or diesel engines. Okay, so this is the basic difference. So the next difference, that is in the case of SI engine will be light in weight and CI engine heavy in weight, because the different things are present over there, as the compression ratio is higher side. That's why the engine will be a bulky one. That's why its weight is again in heavy. So the next difference, in the case of SI engine, higher maximum revolution per minute, that is RPM, due to lighter weight. So if you see in the case of petrol car, the RPM is more. We can say there will be a more RPM in the case of petrol cars or petrol engine, where the maximum revolution per minute is lower in the case of CI engine. Okay, sometime we talk about the pickup of the car. So petrol cars will have a more pickup than the diesel car. The basic reason of this is what? The RPM of petrol engines are greater as compared with the diesel. This is the basic reason. So this is another difference. When we talk about the last difference, or the difference number 8, or the comparison number 8, in the case of SI engine, carburetor is necessary to provide the mixture. Okay, conventionally this is essential. Right now, the latest technology in the market, we are talking about the conventional difference. That's why the carburetor is necessary to provide the mixture in the case of SI engine, where in the case of CI engine, fuel pump is used to pressurize the fuel and send to the injector. So these are the different comparison, or we can say differences between the SI and CI engine. So this specific question will ask to you explain the difference or comparison between SI engine and CI engine. That time you have to write all these things in detail. Hope you understood the today's session. So thank you so much for watching our lecture. Thanks a lot. Thank you.